eternal city, built upon layers of ruins, tales, and the remnants of the dead, with every step on its cobblestone streets, with every shadow cast by ancient walls. A secret lurks that few dare to unveil. Forgotten cemeteries, silent catacombs, spirits that linger in the shadows of the living. Today, you will be led down paths where light has never shone. Get ready to encounter 3 true and chilling accounts from the darkest burial sites of Rome, if you have the courage.
My name was Luca Marino. Yes, it was. Because the man who ventured into the catacombs beneath the Basilica of San Lorenzo is not the same one who emerged. If you can even call it emerging, what transpired that night in the depths of Rome transformed my understanding of reality and left an indelible mark on my soul. It all began when I accepted an irregular job, a clandestine expedition led by a group of independent historians. They claimed to have discovered a section of the catacombs that had been sealed for over 1,000 years. I have always had an insatiable thirst for forbidden mysteries, and I couldn't resist such an opportunity. We were 3, myself, an elderly professor named Vittorio, whose weary demeanor seemed to carry the weight of the world, and a guide named Chiara, whose eyes sparkled with the same mix of passion and trepidation I felt. We entered the enveloping darkness of night, armed only with worn lanterns, ropes, and ancient maps that felt more like relics than guides. As we descended, the catacombs revealed themselves as a labyrinth of narrow tunnels filled with funeral niches and millennial bones that seemed to watch our every move. The atmosphere was thick with the dust of ages, and with each step, the sensation of being observed intensified, as if the spirits of the departed lingered, scrutinizing our every action. Hours slipped by in quiet anticipation. When we thought we could descend no further, we stumbled upon a hidden passage, a stone trapdoor adorned with unfamiliar symbols that seemed to blur the lines between different cultures, revealing nothing Roman or Christian. Vittorio, typically arrogant in his scholarly pursuits, insisted we pry it open. Eager and fearful, we wielded hammers to break the seal. The last piece of stone crumbled away, unleashing a chilling wind that burst from the depths, extinguishing our lanterns and plunging us into a void of complete darkness. And in that silence, I swear, I heard a collective whisper, a cacophony of voices screaming in futile silence. When we relit our lamps, a horrifying reality overtook me. Vittorio had vanished. There were no cries, no sounds of struggle. He simply disappeared, as if swallowed by the very shadows we had disturbed. Chiara was frozen in shock, and panic soon seized her. She urged me to turn back, but I was compelled by an inexplicable force, a blend of fear and fascination that drove me onward. The abyss seemed to promise secrets that defied logic. We ventured deeper, and the new level was unlike anything I had encountered before. The walls were hewn from black stone, glaringly devoid of inscriptions. On the floor lay circular symbols drawn in dried blood, pulsating with an enigmatic energy. The space felt alive, vibrating with a dark intensity. Then we found it, a sanctuary. At the center stood a narrow well surrounded by human bones, arranged in a grotesque spiral. Something stirred within, something vast and predatory. Kiara's cries shattered the tension, and she desperately tried to pull me back, but it was too late. An elongated, pale hand emerged from the well, clutching my leg with a grip colder than ice, draining my very essence. She fought valiantly, pulling with all her strength, but amidst the chaos, I caught a glimpse of what lay below, glowing red eyes, countless and filled with an ancient rage that no tongue could name. In one last desperate effort, I broke free, but not without cost. Something invisible was ripped from within me, something vital. We fled, racing through twisting corridors that seemed to contort and shift, as though the catacomb was trying to claim us. Finally, we burst into the light of day, but the freedom I once craved felt hollow. I was no longer the same. Since that night, Kiara has been a shell of herself. She no longer speaks, trapped in a psychiatric clinic, mumbling incoherently. As for me, I started seeing things, reflections in windows, puddles of water, surfaces of mirrors. Always those same red eyes, watching, waiting, and haunting. The old folks of the city would whisper tales about the steps of Elu, a forgotten name tied to a forbidden ritual invoked beneath the ancient streets where the dead rise and unnameable shadows emerge. By my actions, I unwittingly unleashed those forces, and now they walk among us, ready to reclaim what belongs to them. If one day you hear footsteps echoing behind you in the deserted streets of Rome, do not look back. They thrive on being noticed, and those who glimpse them never find their way back. Destiny is a twisted dance between light and darkness, and I, Luca Moreno, am merely an echo in the throes of damned discovery. What I encountered in the depths still lingers with every step I take. Each night, I feel the darkness creeping closer, like a predator lying in wait for the perfect moment to reclaim what is rightfully theirs. Thus, I carry with me the knowledge that the boundary between sanity and madness is perilously thin, and true darkness resides within us all. Do you sense it? If you do, don't look back. Raven, I beg you, do not reveal my identity. What I'm about to share is a burden I carry, a truth I could never confess to another living soul. I am but a humble servant of the church, a priest in a small parish on the outskirts of Rome, and my position compels me to remain in the shadows. About 3 years ago, I was summoned to bless an ancient piece of land, a site that the diocese intended to convert into a welcome center for pilgrims. This place is located on the fringes of a region known as the Valle del Ambor, a forgotten valley cloaked in olive trees and twisted ancient oaks, where the sun seemed to hesitate before setting. The gnarled trunks of those trees appeared to guard ancestral secrets, and the air carried a weight that was almost tangible. They say that centuries ago, a pagan necropolis once stood on that very land, a sacred graveyard dedicated to old forgotten deities. The stories surrounding that place had always intrigued me, but I must admit, like many others, I regarded those legends as mere superstition. However, what transpired that day would change that perspective forever. I arrived at the site just before dusk. The clouds were tinged with a deep crimson, as if the sky itself were bleeding. The shadows cast by the trees seemed to stretch, like sinister fingers reaching across the ground, anticipating the arrival of an unsuspecting soul. The construction supervisor awaited me, but instead of accompanying me to the center of the land, he hesitated, his face pale, and said, "It's better if you go alone, Father. They don't like too many eyes on them." His warning echoed in my mind, but I brushed it off, dismissing it as a rural superstition. Armed with my crucifix, my aspergillum, and the ancient Latin of my rituals, I stepped onto the terrain. The earth beneath my feet felt alive, pulsating with an unearthly energy, as though an unseen presence was tracking my every move. When I reached the center, I discovered a strange depression forming a perfect circle in the ground. Weathered stones, covered in moss, displayed symbols that I couldn't recognize, neither as Christian nor Roman. I sank to my knees and began to pray, invoking divine protection over that eerie place. The moment the holy water touched the earth, the wind ceased abruptly. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if nature itself were on high alert. Then I heard it, voices dry, unsettling whispers like dead leaves scraping across the ground. Even though there was no breeze, as I opened my eyes, I noticed the shadows encircling the circle beginning to shift. They elongated and twisted, taking on humanoid shapes, dancing like lost souls seeking redemption. I raised my voice in prayer, holding the crucifix aloft, trying to summon celestial strength. But the whispers crescendoed into muffled screams, growing louder and desperately frantic. The air thickened, and in an instant, an invisible force knocked me to the ground, mercilessly pinning me down. My crucifix flew from my grasp, embedding itself in the darkened earth below. I felt hands cold and intangible, trying to drag me down, as if the ground were turning to quicksand beneath me. I struggled with every ounce of strength, weeping, shouting prayers I didn't even know existed, desperate to escape those ethereal grips. Then, clearly, I heard a single word. It was a whisper, sibilant in ancient Latin, steeped in pure hate. In Fr actor M. The transgressor. Dragging myself with great effort toward the crucifix, hope flickered weakly. The moment my fingers finally brushed the sacred metal, the hands vanished, as if the world itself had tilted in favor of my escape. The ground solidified beneath me, and the air rushed back into my lungs. I stumbled to my feet and fled the cursed site without looking back. The construction never proceeded, though the authorities attributed the abandonment to geological issues. But I know the truth, Raven, that land never accepted desecration. It belongs to something far older and far more malevolent than any force the Church has ever faced, a hidden power lurking in the shadows, patiently awaiting the right moment to claim its victims. Since that fateful night, I've carried invisible scars, marks on my soul that refuse to heal. The weight of the experience lingers like an unwelcome shadow that will not fade. When I listen to the wind whispering through the oaks of my parish, I sometimes hear the voices again, calling to me, whispering my sins, reminding me that I, a simple priest, am not immune to the call of those ancient entities. The feeling of being watched intensifies daily, as if the shadows have become my eternal companions. They hide in the dark corners of my mind, ready to pull me back to that forgotten valley where it all began. Nights are the hardest. The walls of my room feel like they're closing in, and the air grows thick and heavy. Time and dreams become allies of my torment, blending reality and nightmares into a relentless dance. In the darkness, voices whisper in my ear, recounting stories of madness and pain that do not belong to this world. These voices echo my failures, my transgressions. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, my heart racing so fast that I fear someone might hear it. I lose track of time, and the hours slip away like fleeting shadows. During one of these moments, I glanced out the window and saw her, the indistinct silhouette of a figure seemingly materializing among the ancient trees of the valley. Her gaze pierces through me as if I were the only thing binding her to this world. Her presence serves as a constant reminder that I cannot escape Raven. The truth is that each new day becomes an act of faith and endurance. I walk the streets of my parish, fulfilling my duties as a shepherd, yet I feel the shadow of the profane right eye interrupted, lurking at my back. I hold on to the hope that if I just keep living, I might find redemption, but doubt has become my unyielding companion. The thought that for years have passed since that incident haunts me. During Mass, I gaze into the eyes of my congregation and pray they never discover the reality of what occurred on that land. My silence is a penance that consumes me from within. The whispers persist, sometimes soft like a breeze, other times deafening like a desperate scream. As night descends, I know I cannot forget them. The oaks continue to murmur their stories, and as days turn into months and months into years, the line between reality and madness grows increasingly thin. I may never return to that spot, even if the call remains persistent. The weight of ignored knowledge pulls me deeper into the darkness. I cannot erase the memories of what I witnessed and what I was compelled to confront. And so, Raven, I find myself as a man essentially nameless and without a real life, trapped in a cycle of remorse and dread. With every gust of wind and every moving shadow, I am reminded of my fate and know that at any moment I could be dragged back into the depths of the Valley of Shadows, a place where light never penetrates and truth is a curse. My name was Matteo Bianchi. Yes, it was, because the man who ventured into the catacombs beneath the Basilica of San Lorenzo is not the same who emerged, if you can call it emerging. What happened that night in the depths of Rome completely altered my sense of reality and left enduring scars on my soul. It all began when I took on an irregular job, a secret expedition organized by a group of independent historians, fueled by an insatiable curiosity to uncover hidden mysteries. They claimed to have discovered a section of the catacombs that had been sealed for over a millennium. I, with my adventurous spirit, couldn't resist the call. I decided to dive headfirst into this profane mystery. There were 3 of us, myself, an old professor named Vittorio, who seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, and a young guide named Chiara, whose eyes reflected the same mixture of passion and fear that I felt. We entered the enveloping darkness of night, armed only with worn-out lanterns, essential ropes, and ancient maps that felt more like relics than guides. As we descended, the catacombs revealed themselves as a labyrinth of narrow tunnels filled with funeral niches and millennial bones that appeared to watch our every move. The atmosphere was thick with the dust of ages gone by, and with every step, The feeling of being observed intensified, as if the souls of the departed were still. Wandering through those dark passages, hours passed in silence, layered with palpable anticipation. When we thought we couldn't go any deeper, we stumbled upon a hidden entrance, a stone trapdoor adorned with bizarre symbols that mixed elements from various cultures, bearing no resemblance to anything Roman or Christian that I recognized. Our breath hitched in our chests as Vittorio, with the arrogance typical of scholars who think they know it all, insisted we break it open. Caught between excitement and fear, we wielded our hammers to crack the seal that covered the passage. The moment the last fragment of stone fell, a chilling, deep wind rushed forth from the shadows, extinguishing our lanterns and plunging us into deafening darkness. And in that void of light, I swear I heard a collective whisper. It wasn't clear voices, but a distant echo, as if hundreds of souls were silently screaming. When we reignited our lanterns, the reality around me shattered. Vittorio was no longer there. No screams, no signs of struggle. He simply vanished, as though the darkness itself had swallowed him whole. Chiara froze, panic gripping her instantly. She urged me to turn back, but I felt an inexplicable force compelling me to press on, a mix of fear and an almost overwhelming fascination. The abyss seemed to promise secrets that defied reason. We plunged further down, and the new level was unlike anything I had ever encountered. The walls were made of oppressive black stone, completely devoid of inscriptions. On the floor, circular symbols were drawn in dried blood, pulsating with a sinister energy. The environment felt alive, thrumming with the weight of whatever lay dormant there. That's when we discovered something we should never have sought, a sanctuary. In the center stood a narrow well surrounded by human bones, arranged in a spiral, whispering tales of lost lives. Amidst this grim decor, something stirred in the depths of the well. Something large and predatory. Chiara began to cry, her despair spiraling into sheer terror. She tugged at me, her hands gripping me fiercely, but it was too late. A pale, elongated hand emerged from the well, clutching my leg with a frigid grip. The touch seemed to drain the very essence of life from me, as if the creature wanted to drag me into the shadows. In a last-ditch effort to save me, Chiara pulled with all her might as we fought against the invisible force holding me captive. I looked down and saw in the well glowing red eyes, countless and filled with an indescribable, malevolent hatred. Terror flooded the space, and in that instant, everything began to darken further. With one final, desperate tug, I managed to free myself from that inhuman grasp, but not without a painful cost. Something invisible was ripped from me, something not physical, but essential, a part of my very being. We fled like madmen, losing ourselves in endless corridors that seemed to twist and distort, as if the catacomb was trying to swallow us whole. I could hardly distinguish reality from hallucination. Finally, when we broke through to the surface, the dawn's light was already illuminating the sky. But the relief felt distant and hollow. I was no longer myself. Something within had changed forever. After that night, Chiara became a mere shadow. She never spoke again. Now, she resides in a psychiatric clinic, murmuring incoherent words that no one understands. And me. I began seeing things that shouldn't exist, in window reflections, in puddles, on the surfaces of mirrors. Always those same red eyes, watching, waiting, and cursing me. The old residents of the city often whispered legends about the steps of Alu, a forgotten name tied to a forbidden ritual where the undead and unnameable shadows were summoned beneath ancient cities. Unintentionally, I set them free, and now those beings wander among us, ready to reclaim what belongs to them. If you ever hear footsteps echoing behind you in the empty streets of Rome, you'd best not turn around. They revel in being noticed. They want you to see them, and those who do never find their way back. Destiny is a sinister dance between light and darkness, and I, Matteo Bianchi, am now merely an echo in the current of doom that drags beneath the eternal city. Whatever I encountered in those depths still haunts every step I take. Each night, the darkness inches closer, like a stalking predator, waiting for the right moment to reclaim what is rightfully theirs. So, I carry with me the haunting truth that the line between sanity and madness is thinner than one might think, and the true darkness resides within us all. Do you feel it? If you do, don't look back.